Hello, my name is Salman Bilal, and this module is covering in-order message processing. Let's get started with a summary of this module. First of all, we are going to take a look at why order delivery might be needed in the first place. Next, we are going to learn the role that Azure Service Bus plays in ensuring we can have order delivery inside our Logic app. Then we are going to learn how to set up order delivery inside a Logic app and how to set up Service Bus queues to support in-order delivery. Last, we're going to see a demo to use an order delivery to select a winning entry in a contest. Let's get first started by talking about why you might want order delivery in first place. First off, order delivery might be needed when the order of message is important to your system. Some examples of this might be bank transactions and stock trades. In this case, you want a first in and first out processing of your messages end-to-end throughout your system. An additional reason for in-order message delivery may be because you need to slow down the message flow. In many scenarios, integration layer processing can flood down downstream by simply processing messages too fast. You can use in-order delivery inside a Logic app to slow down the message flow to ensure you don't overrun your downstream systems. One of the downsides to this though is you're going to process one message at a time, which may not be your desired result. The heart of in-order delivery inside of Logic app is the Service Bus queue. Your Service Bus queue gives you first in first out processing of messages. By enabling sessions on your Service Bus queue, you can now allow it to essentially have a correlation ID, but you can process specific messages in order. You first will build out your process by building the process to handle the first message in your correlation. This would look at the session ID in the Service Bus queue and use that to process subsequent messages. After you have built the logic for processing your first message, you must then build looping logic to process the rest of the messages that follow the same correlation. Let's talk a little bit more about Service Bus queue with session. This has the ability to provide in-order message delivery by using the sessions. The sessions are essentially used as a correlation token for relating messages to each other. Let's see how to set up this in Azure. First off, you would create a service namespace. Then you would create a new queue. Inside that queue, there is a checkbox to enable sessions, so you need to make sure you check that. You also need to make sure you uncheck the enable partitioning checkbox. By default, the enable partitioning is checked and this allows messages to be processed by multiple messages broker at a given time. This gives you much higher throughput, but since we want to maintain the order of our message as they come in our queue, we want to ensure that everything is processed by a single message broker. Now let's talk about receiving in-order message inside a Logic app. This has the ability to provide in-order message delivery by using peak lock and release on messages in our Service Bus queue. Now let's see how to set this up. You first add Service Bus trigger to your Logic app. This is the peak lock trigger as seen here. You will then specify your queue name. One thing to note is that this supports both queues and topics as set up inside your Service Bus. Another thing is point out by adding the Service Bus peak lock shape at the first trigger to your Logic app. This automatically creates a singleton process under the covers. Inside your first peak lock shape, you need to specify the session ID. In most cases, it will be next available. If you need a specific session ID, you could enter a custom value. Once you perform the work inside your Logic app, at the end of the processing that message, you would then call the Service Bus, complete the messages in a queue action. By doing so, you pass in the lock token and the session ID that will return from the original receipt of the message. So let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. So first you would process the first message by peak locking it from the queue. You would then have all your business logic associated with that message. Once that is complete, you would commit that message from the queue. Then you would need to build your looping logic to process the rest of the message that follows the same session ID. By doing so, you would read the next message from the queue. Perform your business logic and then remove the message from the queue. You can define your looping logic to meet your business need. You can define it on the intel shape which supports timeouts and counters in order to end the intel logic. Let's take a look at the demo. In this demo, we're going to use in-order message processing to select a winning entry into a contest. Let's get into the scenario in a little bit more detail. For XYZ companies, third anniversary, they are offering free tea for a year for the third entry each day for a week. User can enter contests via the mobile app once a day. The app allows them to enter the contest at the right time by sending a message to a service bus queue. XYZ company must select the third message received each day as the winner. Now we're going to see the connectors that we're going to use in this Logic app. Service bus queues, variables, Azure Logic app, Service Bus Explorer. So let's start our demo in this Azure portal. The first thing that I want to do is create Service Bus Queue. In order to do that, I'll search Service Bus. I'll click on it. And I've already created a namespace by Light Consultants. So I'll go into that. So now I want to create a queue. I'll add a queue from here. I'm going to name it winner. Then leave everything to default except enable sessions and disable partitioning and create. Now the queue is created. Now let's go back to our Logic apps. We'll search Logic apps. Here I have already created a Logic app, a business Logic app. Let's go into this and see about it. Let's click on edit. So the first step here is HTTP request. This is used to receive the message that has come from the in-order processing message Logic app. Then in the next tab, we're going to parse the JSON payload. Then in the next tab, we're going to evaluate a condition using the sequence number, which is equal to 3. If this is true, then we're going to send an email to the user that you're the winner. And if this is false, we're going to send a failed email to the user where you're not the winner. And the last tab is we're going to wait for the response. And then we're going to click save. Now let's go back to the Logic app and create our in-order process Logic app. So to do that, let's add Logic app here. So I'm gonna name it Find the Winner, and I'm gonna use an existing resource group, and I'm gonna hit create. Now let's refresh this, and you can see the Find the Winner Logic app is in there. Let's go into this and create it. So now here I'm gonna go and use a blank template. So the first thing that I wanna add here is my trigger. I'm gonna search for Service Bus. I'm gonna click this trigger. As you can see, I have multiple options for the triggers in this, but I will be needing when a message is received in a queue peak log. So I'll click on it. I'm going to ignore this and send do not show again. I'm going to select my queue name here, the one I created. Here I can find the view, and I go to advanced options. Here I have to change the session ID to next available, and here I can mention the interval for monitoring the queue. I'm going to change it to 30 seconds. Now I'm going to go and save the Logic app. After that, I'm going to go to the next step, and I'm going to find the variable. Here I'm going to click on initialize variable. I'm going to name it loop count, type to integer, and default value to 1. Now in the next step, I'm going to add our business logic that we designed earlier. So I'm going to search for logic app. Added logic app. And as you can see, the business logic that I showed you earlier, it's over here. You just have to select it. So it is expecting two parameters. Doing it again. So it is expecting two parameters, the message schema and the sequence number. In the message schema, we're going to select the content of the message, and the sequence number, we're going to select the loop count. And we're going to hit save. Now that I have processed our message in our business logic, I now need to dequeue the message from the queue. So to do that, I'm going to go to next step, and I'm going to go back to service bus. And this time I'm going to select complete the message in a queue. Here I'm going to name the queue. I'm going to use the lock token. And in the advanced, I'm going to select the session ID. And I'm going to hit the save button. Just like that, we have built the process to trigger our logic app and create the correlation to process messages in order from the service bus queue. Now we need to build the logic to process the rest of the messages in that queue. Now I'm going to add in next step, and I'm going to find until. The until control. I'm going to choose a value, and here I'm going to add the loop count, and I'm going to start the loop till the value is equal to 5. Over here I'm going to add an action. Here I want to add a service bus action because I want to read the message from the service bus queue. So I'll select service bus action. So I'm going to go back to the triggers, and I'm going to use the same trigger we used before when a message is received in the queue. I'm going to name the queue. Go to advanced options. Here I want to set the session ID to enter custom value. Enter custom value, and I'm going to select the session ID here. Once that is configured, let's add another action. So let's add another action to increment our variable. So I'm going to search for variables, and I'm going to use increment variable. Here I'm going to add the loop count and enter the value 1. After that, I'm going to add another action to call our business logic again. So I'm going to go to Azure Logic Apps, Business Logic, and here I'm going to add the message schema. This time I have to make sure that I'm adding from the Q2 content and the loop count. Now I'm going to add an action. I'm going to go to service bus, and this time I'm going to use an action instead of a trigger. and I'm gonna search for complete the message in a queue, and I'm gonna name the queue to winner, and I'm gonna add the lock token. This time I have to make sure again that I'm using the lock token from 2, so I'll use the lock token, and I'll go to advanced options and session ID, and I'm gonna hit the save trigger. Looks like the logic app is completed, and now let's see how to run this. The first thing we need to do in order to run this is to set up our service bus queue inside of Service Bus Explorer so we could post messages to the queue. Now let's go ahead and test our logic app and see if it. To test this, we're going to use Service Bus Explorer to post messages to the queue. Now I have already set up Service Bus Explorer to our Elite Consultants nameplace inside of a Service Bus Explorer. So let's go see how we post messages to it. Here I'm in my Service Bus Explorer. So we right click on this and we go to send messages. I'm going to paste my message to JSON format, and I'm going to click start. The message is sent. I'm going to change name to and then I'm going to change again. And the third one is probably our winner. I'm going to add 2 more to complete the logic app since we added 5 in the loop. Now we're inside of our logic app and we click refresh. And as you can see, there's a success message. So we click on it for details. Here you can see the here you can see the logic app was run successfully, and this was the loop until which was run 4 times as expected. And if you want to check each of the results, we can go next from it, and here, and then here. Now let's go into our email and see if everything was work fine. Doing it again. So now let's go to the email and check if everything is working fine. You see, I got 5 emails. The first one, you're not the winner. The second one, you're not the winner. And the third one, as expected, you are the winner. Looks like the logic app is working fine and the emails are being sent correctly.